This is what it's like cooking from scratch on a daily basis. If you're new here, I'm Bob, and this week I'm showing you everything I make for breakfast for the week ahead, so we can wake up and have something ready to go on a busy morning. Breakfast is often the meal we don't bother with, but it involves some of the most delicious food of all. I start by making a big batch of blackcurrant jam. You can pick these wild or grow them yourself, and they're in season right now, and this year it's been such a bountiful harvest. I don't add as much sugar as most jams, only as much as I need to keep it preserved, and I know all through the winter when I'm eating this on my toast, I'll be grateful I spent a few hours now to make it this summer. Of course, there is no point making jam if you don't have anything to put it on, so while I leave that to bubble away, I get started on some bagels. The recipe is my standard bread recipe I share on my page, but the characteristic chewiness of a bagel comes from boiling them. It got pointed out to me by my niece whilst I was making them that the holes look a bit smaller compared to bought ones, and it made me think how we often set the food we see in the supermarket as a standard of how food should look, or taste, or be, and that's just not the case. A homemade bagel is not going to look like a mass-produced one, but to be honest, it'll be all the better for it. Bagels obviously need butter before you add the jam, so to make a batch, all I did was literally whip double cream until it split. Now onto some Greek yogurt. This is quite different to the yogurt you may have seen me make before, as it's much thicker and creamier, which makes it perfect for breakfast. You start by making standard yogurt, and if you're new to this, I have an in-depth video on my page showing you how to do it. What makes this Greek yogurt different is that you strain out the excess whey in a colander. Longer you leave it, thicker it will be. And the best part is that nothing is wasted. The whey is put aside to make more bagels for next week. It goes great with honey or the homemade granola which I shared a few weeks ago. By this point the jam was ready to jar, and it was looking really beautiful. It's funny to think that I might not be eating this for years. Not that keeping it that long is recommended, but it can last a long time. My grandparents are both long gone, but we still eat some of the jam they made many years ago. I filled up the sterilised jars and had to pinch a little bit just to give it a try. So far we've made some great staples, but sometimes we need something more substantial for a big day, and so I needed to prepare some eggs and honey roasted ham. This style of ham starts with cured pork which you boil. The honey I'll be using we jarred a few nights ago, and we seem to have a constant supply on tap at the moment because of all the flowers in bloom. As the flowers change throughout the year, so does the flavour of the honey. Once the pork had boiled, I cut off the rind but not the fat. I then added some whole cloves, star anise and an extra dribble of honey before baking. After 30 minutes it looked like this, and I wish you could smell it through the screen. While I leave that to cool, I wanted to make a vegetable egg bake which I could keep in the fridge and take a slice out each morning. I've had a glut of courgettes recently which I left to get way too big, so I grated one of those, squeezed out the water and added some sun-dried tomatoes, bacon and a nice spoonful of fresh Greek yogurt. All these things do take some effort, like anything worth doing, but once they're done and you put them in the fridge, for the next week or two you'll be so grateful you have them. And finally, if none of that does it for you and you have a real sweet tooth for breakfast, there's one thing that might satisfy. I promised last week I would share the recipe for puff pastry from scratch, so here's a real breakfast treat. I made some custard and I added a dollop of the new jam we just made to make a makeshift Danish pastry. And believe me, if you have this waiting for you with a cup of coffee, you'll have no trouble getting out of bed in the morning. So that's another week in my kitchen. Follow along if you're wanting to cook more from scratch meals in your own.